Welcome back, Novello Nation, to another episode of the Aaron Novello podcast. I have with us a very smart individual. Okay, I met her at a mega agent camp, and at the time she was a technologist with Keller Williams, and now she's an associate at a venture capital firm that specializes in the real estate space. Miss Krishna Parikh. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Aaron, I'm so happy to be reconnecting with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time. I really try to hand select individuals that I feel can really add value to the listeners. And I know people will get tremendous value from what you know about this space and about technology. So if you could really quickly, for those that are listening, take the time perhaps to just talk about your evolution, right, in the real estate space, right? Where you started, where you're at now, and what your focus is.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share. So I actually graduated from the University of Texas just 3 years ago.
Wow.
And I come from a background of real estate. So my dad is a developer, construction, as well as as a personal real estate investor. And so I always kind of had that in the back of my head, like dad's always done this. It's always been really fun to watch him. So maybe I'll get into this one day, maybe not. And then in college, I actually, kind of hopped on the entrepreneurial train and did some projects on my own, got really excited. And then, didn't really want to go down the path of, joining a firm that already existed and had kind of gone down the technological path. I wanted to join something that was like on the trajectory of growth. That's when Keller Williams caught my eye and joined actually the research team at Keller, where I was a technology research analyst. My job was to really source different startup companies, analyze them, understand their impact on the residential real estate space, and educate the organization and the broader Keller Williams ecosystem about how these technologies could have an impact on their businesses. The real estate network, I think, gets pretty small once you start. And lo and behold, through my journey at Keller Williams, ended up meeting Modern Ventures, which is where I work now. And as you described earlier, Modern Ventures is a venture capital fund. And we invest kind of all across the board in real estate, finance, insurance, home services, hospitality, etc.
That's fantastic. And, I really love this idea that we were talking prior to getting started, the physical world, which is the world where we can taste, touch, and smell, and then the digital world. And we very much so are living in these two worlds, and the space that you play in is right in between. It's a merger between those two, kind of worlds. So I guess my question for you, for a lot of agents, that I kind of work with, and not only in selling real estate, but also coaching and training agents throughout the country, I find that this idea of those two worlds is challenging for them because their mental map of the world is one of just the physical world. So I guess from your perspective, how do you see kind of technology and the digital world interacting with the physical world, specifically as it pertains to real estate agents?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that's really important is obviously, we're a house is buying a home is a very physical experience, right? And it's a tangible object. And so people want to be able to feel and touch what they're buying into, right? It's also the biggest purchase of their life for most people, I think outside of real estate investors. So, I think for agents, it's how do I create a very tangible, but also convenient experience for the customer that replicates the digital experience that they're having online with a lot of big brands that they interact with on a daily basis, right?
That's very interesting. So this idea where, because we're interacting as consumers, separate from being real estate agents, just being humans on planet Earth, and we're interacting with the internet, with these major companies, whether it be Amazon, Netflix, or different companies, that slowly but surely it's augmenting our expectations.
Yep.
Slowly but surely it's augmenting our habits. as to how we make decisions about who gets our money, or once we've decided to use somebody's service, how it's delivered to me. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Exactly, right? And so we're going to use, we can use Amazon as an example. They have the buy button, right? And you can quite literally buy an object or a product within the matter of 5 seconds, right? And so when I'm on the ground speaking with real estate agents and even consumers who are looking to buy a house, they're trying to cut out as much noise as possible, right? To create or look for themselves a very seamless experience that takes them from pre-purchase to post-close with the least friction possible.
That makes total sense to me. So, and this idea of pre-purchase, right? So if we're thinking in our mind, for those who are watching or listening, if you imagine, the beginning of the process is they're out there kind of looking for an agent, whether they're going to buy or sell. The end of the process is we've closed the transaction, right?
Yep.
So in that pre-stage, one of the things that I've been talking to agents about a lot is that, we were talking about trends and how in the calendar year of 2020, people don't pick up the phone and call somebody first when they're interested in a product or service. What they're more likely not going to do is they're going to go online, probably go to Google, and then they're going to do some research, right? And look at reviews, websites, maybe, like a video if there is one. And then they're either going to make the decision to purchase, or they're going to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Right. So if you could talk a little bit about how these different business models are popping up around that trend, where if I'm here, the real estate agent, and the prospective clients here, the internet's in between, and how people are bumping in, they're landing on the internet, and then different business models are popping up around that. Can you share with agents?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I think, to your point about pre-purchase, right? I think it's even more, it's even more than just before you buy a home, right? I think it's reaching the customer before they know that they need to buy a new home.
Yeah.
Right. And, I think there's always this Target example that, Target sent this mom coupons like for neonatal vitamins even before she knew she was pregnant, right?
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Right. And so I think what a lot of these technology companies are doing is, how do I find the homeowner before they know they need to buy the home, right? And so there's a few different business models up and coming that I think are trying to help augment that piece, that marketing piece, or that lead gen piece, or that conversion acquisition piece for agents, right? And there's one company that we spoke about earlier, Aaron, that's called Addressable, right? And they really do combine the physical experience with the digital experience, right? They have robots that handwrite notes that, can be matched with the agent's handwriting. And those cards are delivered in bulk to the targeted neighborhood that the agent wants to work with. And the agent gets leads from that physical interaction with the customer, right? And so, I think that's one example where, it's not quite the internet yet. And they are, they're kind of capturing this audience beforehand, before they even hop on the internet, right?
That's interesting. Yeah, and this idea of that business is a blend between those two worlds. So it's the physical world of postcards and sending them out, and then the digital world of artificial intelligence using to write handwritten notes and sending it out before to connect with people.
Exactly. But then you also have the traditional digital models like Zillow, like HomeLight, like even iBuyer models, right? Yeah. That are, one, they're trying to get eyeballs on their website, right? And they want to capture the attention of as many viewers as possible, so that they have this interaction, right? This consumer interaction with photos, with images, with video of, what's actually happening in the market, right? It's a way to capture attention. What happens after you capture attention? You grasp, you grasp a viewer's time, which is an important resource.
Which in my opinion is like equally, if not as valuable as money.
Exactly. And so what happens once you grasp the time? Now they're willing to give you a little bit more and a little bit more. And then lo and behold, you've kind of, you have a customer and you have all of this data that you've been capturing over the time that they've been giving you in order to convert that lead,
That's
right?
so interesting. So when you were saying this, I pictured like a funnel.
Exactly.
Top of the funnel is like I'm taking what used to be specialized knowledge or information,
Yep.
and I'm putting it on a website so you can look at it for free. And that's not benevolent. It's not out of the kindness of their heart, right? The idea is I'm going to get you to the top of the funnel. You're going to interact. You're going to look at pictures, videos, all this other stuff. And then the goal is to move you down the funnel. And as you
Exactly.
get moved down to the funnel now with that particular model, they might say, okay, well, if you're interested in selling your home, we'll buy it from you.
Yep.
So it's like they're offering their own products and services. It's like, oh, you need to get a mortgage? Okay, well, we own a mortgage company, so we'll get you pre-qualified.
Exactly.
So the
And I think
challenge is, and I feel like most agents need to understand what you're saying, it's so important, is that there is a fierce competition for eyeballs.
up at the top, exactly, right? And as that funnel gets thinner and thinner, typically what happens is that consumer is given so much of their resources to that singular company. And they've kind of made a commitment, right? As you get down the funnel, the consumer's made the commitment. Like, okay, I've looked at all of these, pictures and videos on your website, and I'm getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the process. 2 years later, I'm still on that website, and now I've made a commitment because now I've been using your resources, and I trust you. I trust this knowledge exchange. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use you as a resource because there has been a trust built up here.
That's
Right?
fascinating. So I just wrote that down. I think that's so interesting, and how that interplays with social media and stuff, where as you spend more time with me, first you give me your eyeballs, which again is currency, it really is.
Yep.
And then as time progresses and we interact or whatever, then what happens is you feel like you get to know me and you feel like you can trust me. So you've already made, kind of without signing any documentation, you've made a commitment that, okay, I'm going to stay in this ecosystem, whether that be Zillow, whether that be HomeLight, or whatever the ecosystem is.
Exactly. But on the flip side, that's for the consumer, right? What's happening for the agent? The agent is being inundated with thousands of these digital lead gen platforms, right? Or, conversion platforms, however you want to refer to them. They're being inundated with all of this information, right? So how do you know what's good? How do you know what's actually going to convert, right? The conversion rates on a lot of these digital tools is very, very, very low.
Super low.
Right?
And I'm curious to see your opinion in that. Like, what I'm aware of is, so I give you an example. So let's say somebody watches me on social media.
Yep.
They ask me a question. There's some engagement.
Yep.
Then I say, hey, what's your number? So I can ask you a few questions, so that way we can, find out if I can be of assistance or help you or not. Now, what I've done is I've taken it now from the digital. Now we're back to the physical, and then skill becomes part of the dynamic, where now I can use specialized knowledge, information, kind of sales training and things of that nature. So that's how I see that kind of interaction happening. And as these different platforms push in and are offering referral fees, whether it be a Zillow or HomeLight or Fast Expert or these different companies, understanding that interaction between the digital and the physical is really important. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Aaron. And I think one thing that's really important to understand, that relationships are a part of the physical world, right? Nothing is going to replace the white glove experience that you give to your clients and, help them walk through this very important decision. There's absolutely nothing that can replace that, right? I think technology can be used to augment those relationships and to help you in the process so you don't let things fall through the cracks, right? But the soft skills, the confidence that you bring to the table, the knowledge of the market that you bring to the table is irreplaceable.
That's awesome,
right?
that you said that, because I'm literally taking notes and I wrote down soft skills.
Yeah.
What I wrote down I wrote down like compassion, empathy, like leadership, certainty, which is really what confidence is about, right? It's like certainty, like, yes, we can get this done.
Yep.
That those things are going to become increasingly more valuable, because
Absolutely.
if I'm hearing you correctly, like these technology pieces are again eyeballs and trying to keep people in ecosystems and all that other stuff, but eventually they're going to have to talk to a human.
Yep. Exactly. You're going to have to talk to a human in order to complete a transaction. And again, the home is a physical object. You are going to go view it. You're going to go interact with it, right? If a family of with 2 or 3 children is moving into a new house, they want to know what the neighborhood is like. They want to know what the schools are like, right? And the agent is going to be there with them through that process, right? And just as the consumer trusted these digital websites with their time and their resources, that same trust has to be built in the physical environment. And that trust is built through the real estate agent, right?
Yeah, and that's interesting when you say that, because it's not only built through the agent, but then the agent can use tech to have that, to facilitate that. So by that, what I mean is, like, let's say we're getting ready to connect and you haven't met me and you found me via a platform, let's say, right?
Sure,
Or you found
yeah.
me online, whatever. And in the pre-qualification prior to us meeting, and I say, listen, Krishna, my job is to help you and do a great job for you. So just so I'm clear, other than what we discussed so far, you want somebody who has a demonstrated track record in this geographic area, somebody who, can get you top dollar quickly and efficiently, and then somebody who can manage this process from start to finish and make it smooth and easy for you. Is there anything else that you and your family would be looking for in terms of the selection process of an agent that would be important to you? And you tell me. And then I say to you something like, well, I know I'm just a voice over the phone, Kristen, and I know I came very highly recommended via the platform. In the email that I'm going to send you, amongst other things, in the signature of my email, there'll be a link to our website, which you can check out and put a face to the name. There's also a link to all of my personal reviews online. I have over 435 star reviews from clients just like you that we've helped in this area from start to finish get the most. So I encourage you, before we connect, just to take a look at a few of those so you can get a feel and a flavor for the service and results we provide, okay? And you're like, yeah, it's cool. So now I'm pushing you back to the digital world to do your due diligence, which you're used to doing anyway. That's how you make decisions about who.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Right. And so I think, now is the time to marry the two worlds together and build the bridges. And I think you can't have one without the other. We're not living in that time anymore. Right. And so you have to use one to augment the other. And it can be vice versa too. Right. If you start off and, you're an older agent, you've done this for a really long time, and you already have the relationships and you already have the network, right? You can really amplify that network and show them the value that you bring to your table by using the technology. Now, if you're a newer agent and you're trying to build the network, sure, you can get familiar with the digital tools that exist, right? And you can really hone in on those technology skills, but ultimately you can use the technology to develop the relationships as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on your journey and where you're at and how you choose to use these. But I think the point that we're trying to make is that one can't replace the other.
No. And I guess I'm curious, because one of the things I do hear from agents frequently, particularly, folks who may have not grown up with this technology or be at a different kind of cycle, right? Stage in their life cycle, is they'll say to me like, well, I'm not like really good with tech. I'm not like techie. And when they say that to me, what I hear is like, okay, well, you don't like money, right? Because like that's how things are changing. So I guess from your perspective, if you were to kind of coach or train an agent or mentor them and say like, hey, these are some really important trends that I see happening, right? Because I'm interacting with all of these companies that use digital world to kind of, do business within the real estate space. Here's just some really important trends that as an agent, you must be paying attention to and pivoting to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I think, there's a few things, I think, regardless of the journey that you're at, that you should be paying attention to. And I think there's different ones for brokerages and for agents as well. So I think because you have different focuses, right? Yeah. So if you're a broker owner and your main goal is recruiting and retention, right? Then, I think some trends to focus on are what kind of benefits are you offering to keep your customer or to keep your agents on board, right? What tools are you using to help engage them with their soft skills and help make them better, right? There's so many tools out there right now that analyze your voice and your voice inflections and can help you close the sale by, quite honestly, altering your voice inflections so you sound more confident and more trustworthy, right? And those are all artificially intelligence-based tools, right? And how can brokers kind of build their brand and their brand identity within the ecosystem so that they're the experts in the neighborhood, and by that the agents also become experts by working with them, right? So that's on the broker side. But then on the agent side, you kind of have to look at your goals, and you have to understand kind of what you want out of the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Like, what are your goals? What are your sales goals, right? And then based on those sales goals, you kind of have to observe the trends that work best for you, right? So if you're a brand new agent and you're just starting out and you're trying to create your sphere, right? What kind of digital tools are you going to use to help build your sphere? Are you going to use tools like Addressable, which help you build your physical presence through postcards? Are you going to use social media? Are you going to use those types of trends? Or are you a more seasoned agent and you've seen trends over the past 2 to 5 years that will help you create a more vertically integrated ecosystem where you say, I need different pieces of my business to kind of grow my business instead of keeping it stagnant.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing from you, like in both of those, is kind of like, again, going back to that interaction between the digital world and the physical world. So what tools am I providing for broker owners to kind of create a stickiness, right, for retention?
Yep.
And what value adds beyond just like you can hold your license up, right?
Exactly.
And also from agents, I heard you use the word digital. So it's like, regardless of whether you're a new agent or an older agent, one of the things that I'm hearing you say is that you must embrace the digital world, whether that be being on different platforms to make it easy for people to find you, whether it be having a, Google My Business profile page with a whole bunch of reviews because people will search, right? Whether that be using social media to be able to, let people know that you are selling homes in a geographic area and that you are the hyper local expert. So I guess I'm wondering, personally, like, because you have this very unique perspective, right? What do you feel are agents' biggest blind spots as it pertains to technology and what's happening in the real estate space?
That's really interesting. I think as an agent, we focus on, lead gen and CRM tools and, how to keep people within our network and how to keep customers within our network. And sometimes we ignore kind of the macro trends, right, in construction and maybe in development and insurance and all of these things and how that's changing, right? And so I think it's important to kind of identify trends at a macro level. And so when we think about single family residential homes, for example, right, there's actually this company called Icon in Austin, Texas, and they 3D print houses in the matter of 1 week. And these houses are, absolutely livable, just like normal. They have plumbing, electricity, everything. And a consumer can purchase this house directly from Icon or directly from the developer who uses Icon in order to build this house, right? And so when you think about macro trends like that are changing the way that real estate is developed and the entire value chain of real estate, right? That really brings things into perspective. And, as an agent, I think you have to think long term, what do I have to do in order to provide the experience for my customers who can easily go to a developer and buy a brand new house within the matter of a week that can be ready in the matter of a week, brand new.
It's crazy. Yeah.
right? And so 10 years down the line, that's going to look a lot different than some of the things that we're talking about right now, right? That is technology, that's 3D printing technology, that's robotics, right? That's something that we don't even talk about right now, right? But that's in the pipeline. And there's actually communities being built right now using that technology.
Yeah, it's kind of like I would imagine like the way it was with like artificial intelligence like 10 years ago, where it's like, like, but now it's like, yeah, I mean, that's happening, that people are using it. Um, and with like deep AI and all that other stuff, like that's coming, right? For sure. And the technology you're describing now, where people are using 3D printing to print homes like that, like you said, it would disrupt the whole chain
Exactly.
and
Not just
compress time and make it frictionless and all the stuff you were just talking about, right?
exactly, right? So that I think something like this really brings everything together, right? And it's the future, right? It really is. And when they're developing communities and all sorts of things, they're not only doing that, they're helping mitigate homelessness, which makes accessibility a really big topic, right?
And
So,
affordability.
and affordability, because I can move into one of these houses really quickly and I can purchase this house without having $60,000 in my bank account, right? And so, as an agent, what parts of real estate do you associate yourself with? And what do you consider yourself an expert at? Is it investments? Is it new developments? Is it, construction? Is it home services? Is it, home insurance? I don't know, right? And what is that depth of knowledge that you can bring to the table that really helps to diversify kind of your customer base and what you can bring to the table?
That's interesting. So what I'm hearing you say, which I've heard from all different types of venues and places and people who know a lot about your kind of expertise, is it's moving more and more to like hyper specialized local expert, right? Because you can't compete with the large kind of game, the Amazons of the world, the Zillows of the world. Like they do that at scale.
Exactly.
Right? The only place that we can really compete and win, the way I like to describe it is like if there was like on planet Earth, if there's a castle, somebody's going to want to invade the castle. That's just the way it is, right?
Yep.
So, but it's like, all right, if I was going to protect that castle, I'd probably put a moat around it, right? I'd probably put some not enjoyable things in the moat, right? Some leeches or some sharks. I'd probably have some archers at the top. I'd have a drawbridge, right? So, like the competitive advantage for agents, if I'm hearing you correctly, is specialized hyper local kind of expertise.
Exactly. And I don't think that necessarily has to be in neighborhoods. I don't think that it doesn't have to be so like it can be hyper local expertise in and around real estate too.
Yeah, like
right?
in a space, like it could be like with divorce real estate or with
Exactly.
construction or right.
Exactly. And that, you were asking the question about trends earlier.
Yeah.
And, I think that has a lot to do with the trends that you most identify with, right? If your knowledge is really specific to real estate investments, then the tools and the trends that are applicable to you are going to be very, very different than someone who specializes in new construction.
Yeah, or residential resale or whatever, right?
Residential retail or whatever, right? And so, I just say that to kind of bring everything together, right? It's the customer wants a curated experience, right? And you have to go find the customers that want that curated experience, right? And so there's, you're going to attract the customers that want the knowledge that you have, right? And you're going to have to create assets around the knowledge that you have. And so you are going to create this, ecosystem, just like, whenever you go on Netflix and they have movies curated directly for you. When you go on Amazon, they have a home page of purchase items that might be interested for you. The agent is then going to create this experience that's very directed towards what's right for you and what you are interested in. And there's going to be an agent out there for you, just like there's a program for you. Just like
That's so interesting. As you're saying that, what I imagine is like imagining like an agent as a tile,
Yeah.
where it's like, this is what I want. This is my specific situation. This is what I want. You click on the tile and then it's like, boop, you're in this ecosystem and, with the specialized knowledge. And it makes me think about this idea of like being an app store and not an app.
Exactly.
Which is
Exactly.
where what you're saying to me is that what individuals, agents, like beyond just kind of brokerage firms, what individuals and agents should be doing is what the big players are doing, which is
Yep.
they're attempting to, through acquisition, right? Whether it be, using the internet to acquire eyeballs, and then you have this ecosystem, and then it's creating products and services around your specific, like specialized knowledge.
Yep.
So you're creating your own little ecosystem.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I think we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I kind of want to bring it up to the audience that, and I think it's really important that, once you have that specialized knowledge, you can start vertically integrating your business, right? To create these separate sources of, income, of knowledge, of people, of relationships, and of tools, right? And you can help build your business in a very specific way rather than you being kind of an agnostic generalist brokerage or an agnostic generalist agent.
Yeah, and I feel like that agnostic generalist agent is going to have a problem moving forward, where we were talking about how like and then I'll ask you this question about like what you like, it's 2030, like what do you see the real estate space like? But I was saying that agents in the future are ones that have to be like super ninja salespeople, because it's very competitive, right? So being able to convert at a high level once I get somebody on the phone, and that comes down to skill.
Yep.
They have to understand that trend of people going online, and they make it easy for people to find them as far as an acquisition channel. And then C, being that the cost of sale is going up due to paying more and more referral fees, being vertically integrated, right?
Yeah.
So you sell real estate, maybe you have ownership in a market center, maybe you have a downline, maybe you have some investments, maybe, right? So there's like multiple flows and streams based on your specialized knowledge or expertise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, so let's say it's like 2030, okay, it's 10 years from today. So what do you think, from the agent's perspective, right? What is their experience going to be like in 2030?
Yeah. So, I think it goes along very well with the conversation that we just had, right? And I think this is well-known information across real estate in America. There's 10% of the agents that do 80% of the business, right? And if you want to be a part of that 10% right now, you have to close a certain number of deals. You have to attain certain targets, and you have to do a certain amount of business, right? And so, I think that's going to be more true as time continues, right? As, these digital players try and eat more and more of your commission, you're going to have to close more deals, and you're going to have to close more, business. But I think in addition to that, you're also going to have own more pieces of the transaction in order to do the same volume of business that you do currently.
So when you say own more pieces, tell me, like, explain to the audience what you mean.
Yeah. So owning more parts of the business could mean, that you obviously, you could own a piece of a market center. You could own a
title company, or piece of a title company,
mortgage company. You could have, a referral platform. I mean, you can get really creative, right?
Yeah.
With what parts of the business that you want to own.
Yeah.
But, I think that that's truly the future. I know that there's actually mid-tier brokerages out there who are franchising out mortgage companies, right? And
Wow.
so, yeah, and that's actually a new model that I've seen in the space where, the mortgage company lives directly under the brokerage model so that they can refer those clients directly to their own mortgage company.
Yeah, and kind of get like an affiliate or a RIP or like whatever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I love that guidance, because I think it's so just accurate, right? That in the future, and you said something which I love, because you're being honest, like as these companies try to pull away more of the commission, which they are,
yeah,
that with time, what's going to happen is that the net goes down. So as you're saying, it's moving towards volume. And the other thing I think is interesting is these online platforms that give out referrals, They have algorithms that are figuring out who's the best at converting leads. And once they figure out who's the best at converting leads, they're going to channel more leads to them. So like you were saying, now more than ever, even though it's like, you know, it's like probably 90% do like, or 5% of agents do like 90% of the business, right? That'll get even more magnified, where you'll have like this 0.01% that do like crazy amounts of business and everybody else like does very little.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, I think too, some of the things that we were talking about earlier, there's franchises and brokerages that offer these tools to their agents, and the ones that have done so earlier have created a sticky enough environment for agents to operate very successfully within these ecosystems to create that stickiness, not only for the agent, but also for the customer, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So like with like, you know, whether it be like a Compass or like a Command with Keller Williams, where like they want agents to be utilizing their technology, right? And as they do, and like, and what you were telling me as far as like commitment, when I give you more, I give you more, I give you more. Now it's like, oh man, like it's a pain for me to like go somewhere else, right?
Yeah, the switching costs are too high.
So it's like, I'm gonna get you so deep down the well where it's gonna be like painful to change and you're not gonna want to do it.
Exactly. And if, you know, I mean, think if I'm a customer with Chase and all of my banking information is with Chase and my mortgages are with Chase and my car payments are with Chase, like, do I really want to switch from Chase to Bank of America?
No, like the pain would have to be so great. You would have to be so mad about something, or the opportunity would have to be so outsized, like a huger interest rate, like something, right? For you to go through the discomfort of pulling everything away from one place and going someplace else.
Exactly. And that's, you know, I think that is the same with, you know, real estate. That's the same thing that agents are experiencing. And, you know, I think that's true with the customer. I think, you know, at the beginning of the conversation, I spoke about pre-purchase to post-close. The reason that value chain is so important is because in the, you know, you offer this experience from pre-purchase to close, right? And then typically what happens is after close, you drop off and you don't really talk to this person really ever again, right? The chances of that person buying a house again are very low, right? Because most people switch houses every 10 to 15 years, maybe more so now, but it's a really long life cycle, right?
Super long.
So if you drop off, you don't have any engagement. So the post-purchase part is actually very, very valuable right now in this entire ecosystem to create the stickiness, right?
Which is fascinating because I think what most agents do is they're only focused on acquisition, like that like how do I get the client? And then you get them, and then like you're saying, you close, and then it's like, boop. However, retention, like if you can keep retention, like you can raise retention like 5%, you can increase profits by like 25%. Because once they leave that ecosystem, that's very, very expensive. And people who have done business with you, they have like a 60% chance, provided you have a good service, like they'll do business with you again, or they'll buy a product or service from you again if you create a need.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think what are some ways in that post-purchase process, and what are some tech tools in that post-purchase process? You know, one of the things that I always like to talk about is like, you know, whenever an agent sends a closing gift, it's always a bottle of wine or, you know, maybe a gift card or something like that. We've actually seen some new models come out where, you know, all homeowners have filters in their homes. And there's actually a filter subscription company. And you as an agent can send as a closing gift a filter subscription with your name plastered on that box. So every time the customer has to change out their filters, you are sending it to them. It's way more valuable than that bottle of wine because they need to change their filters out anyways. You're helping them take care of your house that you sold them, and you're creating a touch point every single time they get a filter.
That's
right?
wonderful. That's so cool. And then it's like what popped into my head, it's like that. And then it's like on top of it, then, you know, I call them, you know, maybe once a quarter. I send them like bomb videos, just like about what's happening in their neighborhood, maybe a birthday video, like, hey, Chris, I know it's your birthday. I just want to say happy birthday to you, right? You're wonderful. Thanks for being a part of our kind of group and allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Hope you have a wonderful day. Right?
Exactly, right? And so my point with filters is home services is actually a huge part of the transaction process, right? How can you help them with moving? How can you help them with repairs? How can you help them with reconstruction, design? you know, and there's so many tools out there that you can actually, you know, create a marketplace out of this too, right? Like where there's so many opportunities to connect with the consumer and stay connected with the consumer,
That's
right?
very, very interesting, because what I'm aware of is like when most people think about that post, it's like, okay, well, I send them something in the mail, you know, maybe I call them a little bit, but they're not thinking like, okay, how could I, with home services, and that's probably very inexpensive for filters, right, for a subscription, whatever that
Absolutely,
is,
it's
50
cheaper.
bucks for the year, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then every time they open that filter, they're like, oh yeah, Aaron, like he's awesome. Thanks for the filter.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, you start thinking about things like home warranties and things like that. Obviously, you know, RESPA's in place and we have to offer options when we're doing things like that. But when you offer options, are you offering, you know, companies that have been around for 100 years in the home warranty space, or are you truly offering an innovative home warranty product, right? We've got, you know, a home warranty company in our portfolio that makes owning a home as easy as renting, right? So it's everything from electronics to lights to, I mean, you name it and they've got it. They've
Wow.
got it taken care of, right? So and that company's called Super. So if you're looking again for that curated experience to offer to the client, you know, there's technology that exists out there that's more valuable than, you know, than what you would typically spend on.
Yeah, and the idea is like, let's say that, like that type of service, and then like the super plus like the thing with the filters, and then you add on top of that like you know, the video and like whatever, like now that's sticky, man. Like I'm adding value, right? Really kind of, it's a curated experience like you said. So when the time comes and they think, because they have so many options at their disposal, I'm giving them I'm increasing the probability that they'll consider me to help them again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what I'm aware of is that, like, I really think about like business in many ways, where we talked about like the castle.
Yeah.
Like in many ways, it is. I mean, it's like it's battle, right? It's just intellectual battle, kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so it's like these are tools that agents can be using to protect as much as possible the castle, right? Like,
Yeah.
and to protect their clients, like once they, you know, have engaged with them, that they're going to retain them, because these other companies are coming after them.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, you know, I think it all goes back to, you know, I think we can really bucket it into, you know, two categories, right? It's one, experience, 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 right? They say location, location, location for real estate for customers when you're purchasing. I think the slogan for agents should be experience, experience, experience. And then really the second bucket is, you know, diversifying and having your eggs in all different baskets, but while having your eggs in all different baskets, owning many different parts of that experience.
Love it. I'm gonna have to send you a T-shirt that just says owner on the front. That's what I'm all about, man. There's you know, consumers and there's owners, and you want to put yourself in the position of the owner. So listen, I really, really appreciate you taking the time. This has been a super engaging conversation. I very much so have enjoyed it. I'm really positive that the audience will enjoy it too. So if people want to connect with you, if they want to, you know, ask you any questions, or perhaps pitch an idea for some company that they have, where can they find you?
Absolutely. My email is krishna@modernventures.com. And modern is spelled with an extra E at the end. So it's technically modern, but we're not French, so it's okay.
Awesome. And then if they wanted to connect with you on like social media, do you have any platforms that like they can find you on?
Yeah, on Twitter, my handle is Krishna Parikh, Parikh 01. And you can find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, perfect. Well, again, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Aaron.
My pleasure.